Salutations everybody, I've started the engine disassembly. This is the flathead cast iron 195.6 cubic inch displacement, CID, or 3.2 liters. It's also called usually 196. People refer to 196 or sometimes even a 195. It's an American Motors engine from a 1963 Rambler American. It was also used in the Nash. It's the same engine as the 172 and the 184 CID engines. The only difference was the crankshaft stroke length. It's just the stroke that changed. I've already removed all the old gasket. It actually came out in two pieces. This was a new gasket I installed maybe 2 years ago, maybe 3. No leaks, but there is a small crack on the cylinder head and it's leaking coolant right where the spark plug is. So that's a pretty bad place because it messes up the spark plug. It makes it too cold, and anyways, it's bad. It was leaking quite a bit. So I'll either try to get a new head or maybe weld this one, or all depends on the cost. I'm not sure how much they'll charge me, but depending how much they charge me, might be either worth trying to find another head, or I might have to try to do it myself, or leave it as is, that little leak, which I would try as much as possible not to do that. But anyways, there's a lot of carbon crud on this engine. It's unbelievable. And you can see on the two pistons in the middle, it's actually pitted here on the head. Lots of little pits. See, that one's nice and smooth. And this one's got lots of pitting, and that's from the carbon from the pistons, as you can see there. These pistons, they've all been moved around. I had to move them so that I could attach the rope. That's one thing you got to watch out for. I pulled the engine out with ropes. I put ropes around it, and depending on how you put it, you might actually twist the rod if the rope gets the rod. So I just move them around, but they all have that black carbon deposit on one side. You can see that one. I scraped it off a little bit. There's little notches in the piston. That's bad, but it's not the end of the world. That one there has actually got a nasty scratch on it there. Like, I don't know who did that. You can sort of see it. Well, you'll see it once it comes off. There's a little bit of a ridge. I don't have a ridge reamer. You see on the cylinder walls, there's always a little bit of a ridge at the top. And these cylinders, they're pretty badly scratched, especially the two in the middle. The other ones are fine. The ones on, you see, the two in the middle are badly scratched for some reason. I don't know why. Very, very badly scratched. Especially this one. You can actually see the scratches there. It's really bad. If this camera would zoom in. There. I think you can see that. Just those two. The other ones toward the front aren't good either. They're not as bad. So because for some reason there's more junk deposit on the two middle cylinders. So my thinking is, I don't know, I haven't done much research about this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this is gonna be my first engine rebuild. So I don't know too much about these symptoms here. Now, following, common reasoning, basic logic, as I usually do, carbon deposit results from, this one actually has some oil on it. This is really hard stuff. It'll come off, but it's pretty hard. I might dump some coolant or something in there just to try to soften them up. But my initial thought is that all this carbon, I don't think it would result from incomplete combustion of gas. I mean, it would result, but not this bad, not that hardened up crud stuff. My thinking is, sorry, I take it back. It might cause that, but I wouldn't think it that bad. And you can actually see it's only on one side of the cylinder. So here, especially that one there, that's all the way to the top, you can see how it actually happened on just one side. And all of them are like that. So this engine has been through hell. It's been run with improper oil. My part, I ran it with too thick oil. That was bad. It was run many miles with, and even so, I don't know how long, with the wrong thermostat. So it was operating cold. I got the car like that, so you only know what the previous owner did to it. Maybe thousands of kilometers the guy ran the engine with cold. Had the crack in the head, which tells me that they probably didn't ever tighten the cylinder bolts, the bolts that go here on the top. By the way, they're all studs. I removed all of them, and it's a pain in the ass to remove them. So these are just regular threads, the ones that go here. I really hate those studs. Removing them is a pain in the ass. They're fine threads, they get rusted. I'm just going to replace all of them with stainless steel. But as I was saying, my initial thought for the cause of all that carbon junk is I think it's because of the exhaust leak. I myself ran the engine on the highway and at pretty high speeds, and regardless, I ran it a lot with a leak on the exhaust from the engine bay. So sometimes you could actually, I'm not sure I showed it in a video or not, but from the front, if I opened the hood, and I pushed the accelerator and accelerated the engine, you could see all the white and bluish smoke coming through the front, onto the front. So you might not actually notice it or think of it, but that exhaust leaking on the front of the engine right here, it's not leaking anymore once I put these gaskets. There's no leaks. Nice quiet engine. A huge difference. But before, it used to leak from right here, especially here through the back here. And the carburetor is right next to it, right here. So what happens is, this I know for sure. I don't know exactly the extent of the damage it caused, but I'm pretty sure that's the major problem. See, the exhaust leaks here, and it gets sucked into the carburetor. So instead of the engine sucking nice, clean air, oxygen, it's actually sucking up carbon, unburnt bits of carbon. That's what the exhaust is. Yeah, and plus the other bad gases. So the engine would also run pretty rough before I fixed the exhaust. So I think that might have caused it. This problem, this huge amount of crud and hardened up carbon deposits. I doubt that any chemical out there would really clean this nicely. You could try, but zinc foam. But anyways, I have to remove the cylinder head in order to get the pistons out, in order to get the rod out. So one thing leads to another. The crankshaft was damaged, probably by some idiot not putting oil in the engine, which caused the rod to bend, which caused even made the crankshaft even worse, because it seized up the bearing, bent the rod. I tried pulling the pistons off through the bottom, and here's where the designers fucked up again. Sorry, pardon my language, but I tell you like it is. The cylinders won't come, the pistons won't come off through the bottom because they hit where the main bearing goes, and it's only about that much, literally maybe 5 millimeters or so, just that much. If they had made the engine a little bit wider, a little bit longer, you could actually pull the pistons off through the bottom. So it's unfortunate that they done that way. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why people overlook something so simple, or maybe they do that on purpose. I've got no idea. I honestly have got no idea. Just that much on each piston. So the engine would have been maybe that much longer. They had made it that much longer, that much more space. You would have wider walls. These things I don't like either. See, this here is nice and wide. Very much harder to get a leak through here. But this here, see, very thin. It's easy to get a leak here. Same here. Here it's nice and wide. If they had made the whole thing nice and wide like that here, and on the middle, it would have been a much better sealing engine, for sure. So there you have it. Sometimes people don't regulate this properly. This middle part here will get burnt. It will burn through it here. So definitely it won't burn through this here, because it's really wide. So just mistakes like that. Unfortunate, but I mean, I don't know. I bet you there's an engine out there where you can remove the pistons through the bottom. So anyways, in order to get the bent rod out, I can actually pull the piston down far enough to actually have access to the pin, the piston pin, and it's press fit onto the connecting rod, but not into the piston, so I can actually move it side to side, but there's no way I can put a clamp or anything in there to get it off. It's really, I only needed to remove the bearing, but as you can see, in order that doesn't work, once again, if a little bit more space, maybe a proper tool, I'd be able to remove the connecting rod through the bottom as well, and the piston, or just the whole piston. That would have been the best. Anyways, that's my criticism there. We'll move on from that. So in order to remove the connecting rod, which is bent, I had to remove the piston, which can only be removed through the top, which means I have to remove the cylinder head. So it's what was initially gonna be a partial rebuild is gonna have to be a complete rebuild. Not bad, I guess. It's good to have a brand new engine. But yeah, it's a lot of work, and I was hoping I didn't really want to do any more work on my car, but at this point I will have repaired, I would have pretty much everything on the car, just for you to have an idea. The only thing that I haven't touched is the differential. I replaced the transmission, not because it was bad, but because it was inadequate. I had to open it up, I had to replace gaskets and seals, had to replace the exhaust, replace the alternator. I'm finally working on the engine. So, sounds bad, but there's not a lot of components on these cars, so I wonder if there's anything else I should say. I'll also probably take the opportunity to extract this broken bolt here, the exhaust bolt. So you see there's a bolt here and a bolt here, and you can actually see it goes through. And it goes through there as well. I guess you can't see it. But somebody broke it in here, so both of them. So I actually have 2 gaskets here. And well, it would be nice to get some proper clamping force here. So take it to the machine shop, get those bolts removed, just drill them through and make a new hole. And yeah, that's it. We'll also go ahead and I'm going to clean this engine up really good, paint it. Want to take a look at the pump, the oil pump right here. Take a look at that. Okay, so I guess that's where I stand. I'm not sure, not completely sure how the camshaft comes off. I'd like to take a look at it as well. If we're going to do the whole engine, might as well take a look at the camshaft. So like I said, wrong timing, bad timing might have also contributed to this. You know, you add bad timing to cold engine to a leaky exhaust, there you go, you probably get this for sure. Certainly the worst possible combination. It's making the engine run as the worst that it can. You know, no good air, just unburnt gases from the exhaust, lots of carbon. It's running cold, so all the clearances are bad. Some idiot starved it of oil, so it bent the connecting rod and ruined the crankshaft as well. Then I just kept driving it like that. Certainly didn't help. Didn't make it worse, but when it's already destroyed, there's no point. And probably some bad timing on the engine. Well, anyways, hopefully in a few days that will be the past and we'll have a brand new engine.